Hello everybody, this is Richard Wisher, and on this little short webinar, what I'm going to describe is the ecosystem that I use when I'm using Python. So when I started using Python, it was really using sort of like the Raspberry Pi environment and the Code Club, Code Dojo environment. So that was very much either Python as a prompt, just a normal prompt, and you type in against that prompt. Or secondly, there was what they call integrated development environment called Trinket. And Trinket is what most of my students use. And then the third one, which I use, which is a little bit more advanced than Trinket, is an integrated development environment called Mu, which just gives me a little bit more. Now, the integrated development environment is really powerful, but there's a thing beyond that now, which is what they call a notebook. So a notebook is an IDE, but it's a little bit more. So I've just discovered, and I want to try and share with you, a thing that I've discovered, which is called the Jupyter Notebook. That's Jupyter, Jupyter Notebook. And Jupyter Notebook is an open source concept. It's well used, it's very, extremely popular. And what it allows you to do is to program Python and other languages as well, but Python I'm concentrating on particularly, just to concentrate on Python. And it allows you to program Python in an IDE, but the IDE is like a website. So it's got cells in it that are program cells where you can put in Python and you can run the Python. There's other cells which are text, which you can add text. So that's the concept. So you have the Jupyter Notebook. Now, the software that runs it, the traditional method, is to use a thing called Anaconda. And I tried that, and it really was a nightmare because you're downloading a massive file. So you can have a big computer, a big workstation to load it on. And when you got an operating system like I've got, which is Chrome OS, it just wouldn't work for me. I tried it and tried it and tried it, and it wouldn't work. So what I then went on the training course, found out how it worked. And when I saw how it worked, I then went exploring. So what I actually found was a Google ecosystem, and it's called the Colaboratory, and it's a Colab notebook. And that Colab notebook is what I'm actually using here. So the back screen is the Colab notebook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my very first program in Python. And I'll show you how it works. So the stuff I've been telling you is in this area here. This is the way I added a text. So you can add code, you can add text. I've added a text box here, and this is what it looks like. So this is the HTML markdown approach to what you're actually getting. So you can well document your code. So this is exactly what I've told you. The three methods I was using. Found the Jupyter Notebook. You can use Anaconda, but it's big and unwieldy. Or you can use Google Colaboratory to load the Colab Notebook, which is the Jupyter Notebook, onto your Google Workspace. This is entirely in the cloud and free. It's optimized for cloud hardware like TPUs and GPUs. And you'll know that you're in a notebook, a Jupyter Notebook, whenever the extension is IPYNB. So IPY and NB notebook. So that just tells you what it's about here. If I now write my very first Python program, I got to this part here. And here I now write my program. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a very simple program. So what we're going to do is we're going to put ask for name. So name equals input. And input, as you can see, there is actually a name that it knows. Open brackets, a quote, and it puts in two open brackets, and so it opens and closes the parenthesis, which is quite good. And then name, I'll do a semicolon, and then I'll do a space. So that's now asking for my name. So when it's asked for my name, what I can then do is I can then do just a print. I could save it as a variable and then print it, but if I now print it directly, if I do that and I do open bracket, open quote, and I then put hello, close quote, close or quotation marks, bracket, plus name. I don't know whether that's correct or not, but we can try. It's recognizing name there, so that's good. So now, if I go to that, that's me now. I've got my very first program. I think that will work. It might have some bugs. I might have to debug it, but we'll have a look. So here we go. So if I now press the go button, press the play button, you can see it's spinning up there. So it's spinning up an instance in the cloud. And it's beginning to run it through all the GPUs and TPUs that are up in the Google Cloud platform. Now asking for my name. So if I now put in my name and return, and then it comes out with the response, hello, Richard. So you can see what I've done is I've done almost like a prim. So I predicted what it's going to do. I've run the code. I can now play around with it, but I don't really want to play around with it. So that's the way you work. That's my very first, it's almost my hello world, but 2 lines instead of 1 line. So I've now got Python programming working in a Jupyter Notebook, but I'm calling it a Colab Notebook. It's exactly the same. And this is for working for free in the cloud. Spun up an instance to run it. It's used all the GPUs and TPUs that it needs to run. And it's completed my project. And I've now got this space, which is my Colab bit. I'll just show you why Colab. What I can do on this is I can put comments. So if I put a comment up here, which is say, so add a comment. So this was my first try. And then add the comment. So that now is a comment on this notebook. And then if I go into share, I can then share it with coworkers. So I now get this page up, and I can then add people or groups that I can want to share this with. So what I'll do is I'll say one of the people that I'm sharing with, or James actually introduced me to this, so let's share with James, and message, how do you like my first Colab Notebook? So I now send that. And I'm going to share some of my organizations, I'll share anyway. So what I've now got is I've created this notebook. It's got a bit of code in it. It's got a lot of content in it. I've put some notes in, sharing notes of what I'm doing on here for explanation. And I've shared it with a collaborator who knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. But him and I can now work on this project together. I can share it with many collaborators and we can all work on this project together. So it's not just doing the Jupyter Notebook concept, it's now doing a collaborative shared notebook concept in the cloud. So I think that's really cool, and I'd like to share it. I'm going to put it up on my YouTube channel. So thanks very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.